Hello and welcome back. Another try and fly. And this time it's a Carenado aircraft. And in particular it's the Beechcraft 1900D, an aircraft that Carenado produced a couple of years ago. It started in X-Plane 10, that's when I actually got it initially. And yeah, in X-Plane 10 I wasn't really that happy with it because it had a rather bad performance. Okay, that was my old PC. It was X-Plane 10. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really very happy with it. But okay, so I used it the odd times. And then X-Plane 11 came out. And Carenado initially didn't do anything to make this aircraft compatible with X-Plane 11 because in X-Plane 11 there had been some changes in the way that turboprop engines like these here work. So you couldn't really use the 1900 properly. I mean, there were some tweaks around and stuff, but yeah, it didn't really make it better. So I kind of have written it off, and then suddenly Carenado came out with an X-Plane 11, a revamped, reworked version where they had supposedly done an awful lot of stuff, and they wanted the full price. I wasn't exactly happy because I thought, shouldn't there have been some kind of upgrade price for X-Plane 10 users? Well, obviously not, according to Carenado. So I wasn't really very happy and I decided not to buy that aircraft. Then came a Christmas, I think it was it Christmas or was it some other sale in the store? Anyway, there was a good sale on, and there was the usual Carenado 30, 40, 50% reductions that you can get when they do a sale. And that is when I decided that I would buy the X-Plane 11 version in order to give the Beechcraft another try, because I kind of like this aircraft. I used to have the old, very old PMDG 1900 way back in FS9, so kind of remembered that, and that's why I did it again and I got myself a Carenado aircraft. Now it took some time before I was now finally able and have the time to install this and try this out. So what did I do? I checked on the store that I have the current version. According to the description of the file name 1.1, it looked like the same file name when I hovered over the download link than the one that I already have. So I installed it, thought there is no new version, okay. Turned out when I tried this the first time round about a year ago, I had an awful lot of issues with the autopilot. The heading didn't work properly and there were some other strange things happening, and I got that again. I thought that can't be true. They haven't fixed this in all this time. I just couldn't believe it. Then it turned out there is actually a newer version, 1.2. It's just that somehow on the store the links or it seem to indicate that you're getting 1.1, but that's not true. You actually do get 1.2. They just haven't named it properly, or not in a way that is easily detectable. So I downloaded it, I checked it, and indeed it was version 1.2. I installed it, and we're going to try it out now. And we'll see if the autopilot issues, according to the list, there had been some improvements. Yeah, we're going to give it a try. That's what Try and Fly is all about anyway. Apart from that, if you look at this aircraft, I mean, this is what I usually expect from Carenado as a modeling and texturing job. So yep, that is quite pleasing. You also get some additional liveries. They have a livery pack. It's 150 megabytes. It's about six or seven liveries. And in the meantime, obviously, because this has been out for quite some time now, you also do get freeware liveries from the forum and probably other places as well. Okay, yeah, the one thing I really don't like about Carenado aircraft in XP11 is this. Why could they not finally make this hide like many others do now, so that you don't have to look at COA all the time? Well, obviously not. So anyway, there's the usual options. They're pretty much the same with practically all the Carenado aircraft in X-Plane. So you have your views, which I have changed in the meantime. You have your field of view, which I always leave at 80. And you can actually change the volume of the sound. That is a practical option, I think. So, yep. Then you can turn on or off Windows reflections, instruments reflections. That I turn off because, as usual, I don't like it. Static elements, we're going to take them away now. Then you have the baggage door, the passenger door, and the cockpit door, which is basically this. And before we close the cockpit door, I'm going to quickly show you around the cockpit. Can you actually open the door from here? No, I don't think you can. Oh, yes, you can. Haha. Very nice. So you can open and close it by just clicking here somewhere. Yeah, it's a single row. So it's two single seat rows. And yeah, it's used by smaller airlines or by sort of commuter and local airlines. For example, in Canada, there's quite a few of them around. I think in Alaska as well. And yeah, it is actually quite nice. And it's the usual good Carenado modeling job anyway with this one here. So let's close the cockpit door. I'm not sure if it would be like that in real life. It looks a bit odd the way it closes, but anyway. And then you got the autopilot thingy. Also, this is pretty standard in Carenado as a pop-up, which can be useful at times. Yeah, and I defined my own views. That means I use the viewing system of X-Plane 11. I don't use any plugin for doing that. Okie dokie. Now I also have connected my hardware. I defined the most reasonable buttons, the ones that I use all the time. I also have my GoFlight connected, and that works reasonably well, all of that. So it is pretty much standard X-Plane when it comes to the navigation. And weirdly enough, they have this full-blown FMC in here and a GPS. And I think if you have the GTN, which I haven't activated right now, you may even be able to get a GTN 650 or 750 in here. But I'm not sure about that. I just realized that there was a Reality XP GTN ini file coming with the aircraft. So I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest. Okay, so yeah, nice modeling. There is also a CList file, which I think is practical, and it comes from Carenado. The only thing is it's not the kind of automatic one, so it wouldn't automatically tick off the battery mass and all that. that would have been a nice touch if they would have added that as well. But well, I haven't checked yet. I'm almost sure that you will probably find a C-list that is maybe a bit more automatic than this one here. Still, this comes out of the box, and I use that now to try and find my way around the 1900. I haven't been in it for a long time, so I'm a little bit rusty when it comes to these aircraft here. Exterior interior inspection we have already done. The battery master is off. The left and right generators are off. The beacon is off. The lights are, by the way, up here. So all the lights are off. Strobe lights off. Position lights off. Taxi lights, landing lights. So left and right AC bus, that's down, down here. They're off. Left and right engine auto ignition, they're off. Engine anti-ice off. Avionics off. Engine and ignition start off. It's down here. Next. Prop test is off. Where is the prop test? Prop automatic manual. I would have kind of guessed it would be around here, so I'm not sure where the prop test is. Auto feather. Ah, here. Prop test. Overspeed off. Yeah. Auto feather is off. All ice protection switches are in the off position. Landing gear handle is down. Indeed it is. Left and right standby pumps are off. That's these here. Power levers are in the idle position. The idle position, by the way, is here. Okay, so it's up. And I actually got myself new throttles. These are self-built ones. They're not, you can't buy them in the usual shops. So someone in Stuttgart is producing those. And they actually have a detent and a kind of a lock. So I have to lift some lock up, and then I can go into the reverse mode. And when I'm out of this beta range or reverse mode, then I am pretty much on the position for the idle thrust, I think, because that's the way it looks. That is actually quite nice. They also have, yeah, so it's hard to see, but I think we're kind of touching, I think we're touching the idle position, or maybe not. Ground, yeah, hard to say. Ground fine, lift, idle, lift. So the idle position would probably then be here. Okay. Yeah, so they also have the other ones which are working quite nicely. And again, in the fuel cutoff, they also have a sort of a locking mechanism. So I cannot bring the mixture into the fuel cutoff position, which is good. So at the moment it is in the fuel cutoff. But when I move it up, it's kind of, it is prevented from going further down unless I lift the latch and bring it down. So that is quite nice. And it works quite well with this aircraft here. So the prop levers. They want in the high position. So that means we bring them up here. And we leave them there. My experience with this was that yeah, the aircraft wants to really take off on the spot when this is in high. Let's see how that is now. So we are in the fuel cutoff for the conditions. The flaps is up. The bleed air is off. Bleed air is over here somewhere. Yes, indeed. So it's in the middle position. It's the off position, I think. And yeah, I think, yeah, off is in the middle position. That's correct. The parking brake is set. Indeed it is. It's pulled. And the autopilot power is off. Where is the autopilot power? I think switch labeled AP, and flight director power switch labeled FD. Yeah, where's that supposed to be? Yaw damper, steering power, elevation trim on, rudder boost. To be honest, I'm not sure if they're talking about this thing here. And what I also can't see is the flight director switch. Where is that? Slew mode, gyro slave. To be honest, I can't find that particular button right now. So let's assume it is in the right position, but I would have assumed that it is somewhere here, but I'm not able to find it. Now, that's not necessarily a problem. And the other thing is, with Carenado, sometimes you do get kind of descriptions of things that belong to another aircraft. So it wouldn't be completely unheard of. But maybe we'll be able to find it somehow. So this is the Honeywell. It's the standby. No, this is the vertical speed with TCAS, I suppose. You can probably change the range here. Well, anyway, maybe we'll find it later. Battery. So we're going to turn the battery on now. And we're going to check the battery voltage. We're going to check the battery voltage by moving to here. So I think this is the battery. So the voltage, TPL bus, light, left, light, and external power. Okay. So the battery voltage, yeah, it looks like 26, 27, 28, probably 28. Is checked. Then we're going to turn the beacon on. That's here, anti-collision light. And we're going to test the annunciator lights. Where do you test the annunciator lights? Let's see. Could that be here? There we go. Yeah. Tested flight controls. Well, the only thing we can really check here is that the joysticks are attached. Let's quickly check the... Yep. The rudders as well. So that's done. Pre-flight checks. So now comes the engine start. Fuel quantity checked. Left. Well, let's quickly have a look. Well, according to this, we have 2,200 pounds. I'm going to put in a bit more. So that gives us a 2-hour flying range, left and right standby pumps, test and off. So the standby pumps are here. I'm not even sure how you test those. And what you should see, I have no idea. Avionic master, we're going to turn on, and the propeller area is clear. So the avionic master, I'm guessing, is on so that we can see the... Yeah, you need to turn on these switches so that the displays come online. Okay. Right ignition on. And engine start switch click and hold until N1 reaches 50 RPM. Well, you know what? Before we do that, I'm actually going to turn the external power switch on. I'm not sure if we actually have external power. I'm not sure if the battery will actually wear down. Carenado isn't known for simulating this very accurately on other aircraft, at least. And I guess what we should do is we should somehow get our flight plan hacked in. So one possibility is to use the FMC. The other is to use the GPS. And to be honest, I'm a bit confused as to what should I do here. Should I use this or should I use the other? So let's see. Let's call up that thing. Let's go into flight plan. We are flying from Echo Delta Delta Mike to Echo Delta Delta Mike. It's a bit weird that we would have an FMC. I'm not sure, is it like that in the real aircraft? Do you really get this kind of thing there? Who knows? Test flight 1. We're going to fly anchor as our first waypoint. And then we're going to fly to Akini, followed by Ostis, followed by BAMTA. And then we're going to take off from runway 08 left via the Anchor 9 Quebec. And we're going to arrive. And here we need to go first the arrival, then the runway, which gets then automatically selected. And we're going to come in via the MIQ, transition, execute, legs. See if these look reasonably okay. Anchor, Akini, Ostis, BAMTA, Rosap, Bingo, Tusto, Lando, MIQ at 5000, 1500 or below. Okay. This is not VNAV capable, by the way. Don't expect it to know anything about VNAV. The aircraft will not be capable of doing that, at least not with this equipment. So what else do we need to do? Climb. So transition altitude is 5000. 250 below flight level 100. All right. Then the cruise altitude will be flight level 200. And the descent is flight level 50. Yeah, 2.5 VPA. This is a bit fast, so I'm going to, oh no, I can't change this here. 290 appears a little bit on the high side, I would think. Let's see if I can provide anything that will reduce this. Anyway, we don't have VNAV capability, so I'm going to control the speed myself anyway. So this is not a very realistic thing here. Right, Navrat page, yep, 109.50. The course is not correct. I would actually expect to have course 080. I'm going to use 116. That's the Delta Mike November VOR for a DME readout, and the 369, the 426, yeah, in case we want to use ADF. The transponder code is 2000. That stays like this, and yeah, that's it. So that's about all we can do. Here's the legs. The rest we're going to do ourselves. All right, that's that. Now let's start the engine, and I guess we need to be pushed, so let's get better pushback
Brücke. Bitte zeigen Sie mir zuerst, wo Sie hinwollen.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I will clear this and we're going to bring the aircraft a little bit closer because that push position was actually for a large Boeing.
Boden an Brücke. Der Schlepper bringt sich in Position.
So it looks like the FMC has set this up rather okay. Yeah, that looks pretty okay. So when we go to the flight plan, yep, that has worked actually quite nicely. Good. Here comes the push cart. Oh yeah, there's a strange thing.
Boden an Brücke.
When you're
Alle Türen und
outside,
Luken sind verschlossen. Wir sind bereit, den Schlepper zu verbinden.
the landing lights are always on. You go in there, you come back out, and the landing lights are on again, although I haven't done anything. So I'm not able to get those landing lights turned off. Don't ask me why that is.
Seilwinde und Adapter sind festgemacht. Lösen Sie die Parkbremse, wenn Sie bereit sind.
Will do. Thank you very much. So, right ignition and engine on. Start switch, click and hold until N1 reaches 50% RPM. After the N1 has reached 12% minimum, right condition lever into the low idle position. So at the moment we are in the fuel cut. And yeah, let's go and release the park brake. Hello? Ah, I think he's lifting us up now.
Wir beginnen mit dem Pushback. Die Triebwerke sind frei zum Anlassen.
Weird looking fella, isn't it?
Quit blinding me with your landing lights.
Yeah, I know.
Turn them off. Hey. 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 Quit blinding me with your landing lights. Hey. Quit blinding me with your landing lights. Turn them off.
I have this distinct feeling that we're not going to get pushed now because the Carenado has nothing better to do than to have flippin' landing lights on. Okay. So does that mean now I can't start the engines until you've pushed? How much will we bet?
Hey. Quit blinding me with your landing
See that?
lights. Turn them off.
For crying out loud. Well, let's watch us being pushed now. We can't start the engines now. It's great to have this view. Unfortunately, it always shows in the wrong direction. So, now. These are things that I don't understand. You know, you publish a product, and this also was in the original version with the landing lights. And after all that time, and after an update, the landing lights still go on. I just don't get it. How can you miss this?
Der Push-Vorgang ist abgeschlossen. Bitte setzen Sie die Parkbremse.
Yeah, so now the landing
Der
lights.
Schlepper wird getrennt. Einen kleinen Moment bitte.
The landing lights are on again. Anyway, now, right ignition and engine start switches. Click and hold. So, this is the switch. And it is a bit awkward, so I need to kind of move the view so we can see it. And then we can watch N1. N1 is, yeah, where is N1 actually? ITT, torque, prop, turbine, fuel flow, RPM. So I suppose...
Der Schlepper wurde entfernt, der Beifahrstin ist gezogen, Freizeichen gibt's von der linken Seite. Einen angenehmen Flug. Tschüss.
Jo, tschüss, danke. I guess it's probably the turbine RPM. So we're waiting for the turbine RPM. Click and hold until N1 reaches 50 RPM. After the N1 has reached 12%, we bring the condition lever up. So I need actually 2 hands for that now, because I need to stay on the switch with the mouse and then move my lever. I wonder how you do that without that. Anyway. If you leave it too early, it will spool down again. So you need to really stay on it. I brought up the lever into the low idle. And compared to the idiotic way that engines start in prepared with Carenado, this actually looked pretty realistic. I quite like that. That works quite well. Okay, because in prepared they just spring to life from 0 to full in 1 second. The sounds sound different, but the engine just come up with aircraft like that. Well, anyway. Right condition lever is low idle. Right ITT, check N1 turbine RPM monitor. So our RPM are in the green area. The prop, that looks okay. The torque looks okay. The ITT looks fine. So there's no problem there. So the fuel, low pressure stuff that has turned itself off. Right oil pressure, check. Yes, yes. The right generator, we're going to turn the right generator on. So we're now getting electricity, and the right generator annunciator should be off. And indeed it is. See, that's the left one, DC gen. The right one has turned off. Okay, next engine, same procedure. So we are holding it, and I move my hand to my lever. I don't know how you do that when you're, I suppose you can leave it after 12 or so. Let's try that. Nope. I really wonder how you do this without joystick. You need to really hold it until 50%. No, well, it comes earlier than that, but yeah, you need to keep pressing it for a long time. Landing lights are on again. Very good. That has worked. Left condition lever, left ITT, check fuel pressure. Lights are out. Left oil pressure is checked. Looking good. Left condition lever is, yeah, so we bring the two now into the so-called high idle position, which is at the top. You can't really hear or see any difference. Not sure if there's supposed to be something. Left condition lever high idle, left generator on. And the annunciator is off as well. So, ready for the before taxi. Fuel quantity is checked. Avionic master is on already. Left and right AC bus. We're turning on. Heading indicator set. Yeah, actually we should be changing the mode here. The mode can be changed here. That's a bit weird. Okay. So map HSI. So it's a little bit confusing, but okay. So heading 080. Altimeter. Yeah, so the altimeter is, yeah, we have standard weather, so 2992 is actually correct, and it is 1500, so that is fine. The instruments are checked, radius and avionics. We have set already autopilot power, switch label AP, and flight director switch on. To be honest, I still don't know where that switch is. I'm still not sure where that switch is. I would have expected it to be down here. But I can't find it. DSC, EASVS, there's nothing here. Well then, let's assume it's okay. The jaw damper is off. Auto feather now in the arm position. It's up. Ice protection is not required today. Pressurization before taxi 2. Pressurization set. I'm not entirely sure what I need to do here, to be honest. Let's put a bit of air on. Blowers, environmental, auto temperature. Yeah. Let's put that into automatic temperature. There's the pressurization. There's the oxygen, so that's quite okay. Pneumatic pressure. We don't have pneumatic pressure. How come? Should we not have? Should this not show something here? Maybe that is... Nope. Well, who knows? Pressurization. Then bleed air off. The bleed air is off. Pressurization. That's probably why. So they want that off. For whatever reasons. Let's quickly check through the generators. Yeah, the generators are producing something. It's good. So now, strobe lights on. Really? No. Well, if you say so. Navigation lights on. Yeah, I use my switches for that. Taxi light on. They're up here. Okay. Alright. Next. Taxi, parking brake release, brakes check, heading indicator check, indication, ground speed, monitor during taxi, safe speed is 15 knots. Well then, parking brake off, and what you will realize is it will accelerate and accelerate and accelerate. I haven't yet found the best way of taxiing. I have the throttle levers even in the reverse range, and it just accelerates and accelerates. So over time you get a little bit fast. Although this doesn't look too bad now. Maybe they fixed it. Because I had been testing version 1.1 and there I was just like, there was no holding it. Yeah, it does get a bit fast, so it's not too bad though. It appears better than before. Maybe I'm imagining it, but so anyway, the brakes are tested. Heading indicator, check indication. Yeah, it's supposed to check if the heading indicator is moving. Ground speed, yeah, maximum 15 knots. The thing is, I'm not even sure where you can find out how fast you're. Ground speed down here, 14.8. So we're kind of at the limit where we should be, but I have a feeling it is better than in the 1.1 version, because there I was chasing down the taxiways very quickly. So we are above 15, so I'm going to use the brakes a little bit. I have everything in the lowest position, so it just likes traveling. It wants to get going. So before takeoff, whatever that is, I think we know. That view is a little bit deceiving, it seems. Let me check. So we are centered when we have the line roughly where that, yeah, where that warning button light is. So I need to use the brakes again to get a bit slower. The sounds are quite okay, I think. They sound reasonably like a turbo prop would sound, I suppose. Turbine engines. Okay, and parking brake on. Oh god. Yeah. No. So the only way of preventing it from overriding even my brakes is to take the props into the feather position. Then it's not pushing. Yeah. All right. So parking brake is set. Radius and avionics and set. Flight and engine instruments check. Autopilot. I have no idea how you test the autopilot. Annunciator lights check. So we do have some on here. For example, the left and right pitot heat. We're going to turn those on. And the rudder boost is off. This is somewhere. The mouse sometimes catches, so that needs to be turned on. And now this looks pretty okay. The other thing we need to do is bring up the altitude. I'm going to set flight level 200. Then we're going to activate the transponder. These are, by the way, the radios sets number 2, whereas the main one is in the GPS. That's the way they've done it. Fuel quantity, landing lights. So the landing lights, well, as they are on already. Auto feather in the arm position. Yes, auto ignition. The auto ignition is in the arm position. Can't remember doing that actually. Engine anti-ice not required. Ice protection not required. The bleed air is off. We shall not forget to turn it on later, or we might get difficulties breathing. Takeoff speeds confirm. Yeah. Well, there is actually some documentation, and I guess there are some V speeds. My guess is that these are probably values that will work. Elevator trim set for what? Well, let's see. So I put it in the middle, roughly. Power levers, idle position. Prop levers are in the high RPM. Yeah. No, they are not actually, because otherwise it would be already past the runway. Flight controls checked. Flaps as required. I'm not even sure if we need flaps. I'm going to use... Is that... That looks a bit odd. Somehow the lever and the numbers, that doesn't really match, does it? Well, anyway. Right, before takeoff number 2, we're now ready for takeoff. We would power levers, takeoff, torque and ITT monitor, rotate at whatever the rotation speed is, landing gear up, airspeed maintain, V2 minimum 125 knots, flaps up. So we shouldn't bring in the flaps before 125. I'm going to release the parking brake now. And bring forward the prop levers again, so we start moving. Now, I'm not expecting this airplane to behave anything else like standard X-plane aircraft have behaved on this course, on this track, because it is the standard autopilot and the standard GPS and the standard FMC. So our special corner at BAMTA and ROSAP, it will probably not fly correctly. And because I know that, and that isn't actually a surprise, we might choose to shortcut this. So for some reason it's now not trying to head off with me. I'm on the brakes. That didn't work before. Strange. So I think we're ready. And yeah, what I don't know is what the power setting should be. So I'm trying to not have any value be in the red. So it's not a very high setting. I don't know. I have no experience. I would think though that we should have a minimum of 90 RPM or something on the turbine. But looks like it is okay. V1 rotate. I have to pull quite a bit on the yoke. Okay, thing likes to steer a little bit to the left. Oops, wrong trim. Okay, gear up. Now I have to trim down again. So I'm going to command kind of a 1300 feet per minute vertical speed, and oh, that's minus. Yep, that's not helpful. At least the autopilot wasn't on yet. And now I'm going to use a nav with CDI GPS. We're going to use vertical speed mode. And we're going to turn on the autopilot, which is here. So what the what is the autopilot on now? Oh, no, it wasn't. Sure, it wasn't. You click on it and it doesn't come on. Why does that not surprise me? Now look at that crap. Really now? So we need to now try and get it back. Flaps up. That should speed up a little bit. I now have to try and get somehow back onto the course line here. Direct to... no. Direct to enter. Okay. And then let's switch back to nav. Yeah, so we're on nav now. GPS, and we're now flying to Delta Mike 079. And we're climbing. Okay. What a mess. I'm pretty sure I've clicked on that button, but somehow it hasn't activated. Maybe I have to stay on longer or something like that. Who knows? That was a new one. Never had that before. It's just turning and flying backwards. So you have to make really sure that you've activated your autopilot. I should have used my hardware button. So, is this adding? Not sure. Right, power levers and elevator trim set to maintain desired climb rate. Yep, we've got that. Propeller levers as desired. What do I know about desired? I have no idea what I have to put. So we're going to look into the documentation. So let's take it back a little bit. Propeller sync on. That will make it a bit easier on the ears. Engine instruments, monitor, taxi lights off. Landing lights off. Yeah, well, they don't turn off anyway. Pressurization check. Yeah, let's turn on the bleeds. Bleed air on. Yaw damper. You can't even tell if the yaw damper is on. Down here you don't see these lights, right? So you need to actually check here, and the yaw damper is on. Autopilot power on if required. I still don't know where that is. Ice protection is required. And the altimeter set 1992. It is anyway, because we have standard pressure. So next is then the cruise, but that means we still have to climb a little bit. Looks like we're now following successfully our route. See if we can increase to 1700 feet per minute. Yeah, let's try and stay on 1700, 10,000. We got a bit slower now, so I'm going to bring up the propellers again. I think we need a bit more power. Yeah, we're slowing down. So I'm going to reduce to 1500 feet per minute. Yeah, we need to watch that speed. It's kind of okay, but a little bit slow. And 1500 feet, is it really that slow? 1500 feet per minute? Yeah, suppose, yeah, it's probably okay. There's a synchronized heading button. If you want to do it quick, press here and the heading is synchronized with the current heading. Yeah, we're getting even slower, so I need to reduce the climb speed or the vertical speed. I'm now on 1300. So we're still on our way to Akini. So this is the pressure here, I guess. Yeah, not sure if that does anything. I mean, a lot of the buttons do have are modeled and they do move, but I have no idea if they actually do anything. So I'm now very quickly going to test if my heading still works. Yes, so I fixed that one. Because in the 1.1 version, what happened was it would turn now 180 degrees and try to fly the opposite course, which is not exactly helpful. But that is fixed now. That's good. We're getting slower and slower. Going to and I'm going to reduce to 1000 feet per minute because we need to get a bit faster. Yeah, that appears to have helped. Oh yeah, there's another altimeter here, I just realized. One that also gives us the millibars. Okay. I actually haven't realized that yet. Interesting. Synchronize the heading. So let's go and make it dark. And in order to get all the lights, you can use this switch. I'm not sure if that's a realistic one, but it turns all the lights on. This looks like a Carenado simplification, but yeah, it is practical, although it is now pretty bright. So I guess we now need to find out which of these overhead. Let's do this a little bit less. Floodlights, anything that is kind of flood. Engine instrument lights, pilot lights. So that's what the lighting looks in the cockpit. And I'm not sure. Yeah, well, there's some lights here. So that's what it looks like in the cabin. I wonder actually if there is a clock here somewhere. I mean, you would expect one. Question is, where would that clock be? No clock. Yeah, cabin climb and so on. This is actually something you will not be able to see at all. I really wonder if it is like that in the real aircraft, but you have no view of the flaps indicator, the cabin climb and the cabin altitude from here. It's very hard to actually see them. I don't know, could be like that in the real aircraft, yeah. Although it sounds a little bit like an oversight. Now let's see. I still haven't seen a clock. Kind of would expect to see a clock here somewhere. Some time indication. No, no clock. That whole aircraft, no clock. Oh, hang on. Ah, maybe here. Yes. You cannot read it at all, but yep, it is. So let's go back to the time. Oh, wrong button. 12 o'clock, roughly. Okay. We're at flight level 200. We've reached it without stalling. That's good. Altitude alert. Now, as far as I know, it will not automatically turn off. You will need to use altitude select, which I forgot to actually activate. Yep, that's one of those, and I completely forgot. You need to use altitude select, otherwise you're going to climb through your altitude. Aha. Just in time. Okay, so far, that's not bad at all, the way it works at the moment. And yep. How much will we bet that that thing is going to veer to the left? We shall see. I wonder. If I have any indication that it will turn to left instead of right, as it should, I'm going to use heading mode because I can't be bothered now flying a full circle. So, by the way, here's also this additional avionic thing. There's another, it's just the normal map. I do actually prefer the GPS map anyway. Here you can turn your weather on or off, and terrain isn't available, so that's all a bit of show, but yeah, it's not doing anything. You can click on these, but yeah, there isn't really much happening. So now let's watch what it's doing. If it behaves like the others, it will turn to the left. But maybe they surprised me. Ooh, I'm getting surprised. It's turning right. Could be because we're not that fast. You see, it could be that the reason why they veer off to the left in the jets is because we are a little bit on the fast side. So I'm reducing slightly the power, but I have no real feeling, at least on my first flight now, what I should or should not set as power. I mean, they're pretty much high up, so I don't know. Yeah, that has worked nicely. I think it could have to do with the speed. Now we are reducing, I don't want to reduce speed, so let's bring this up again. So what's the fuel flow? Let's see. Hoo-hoo. Oh, wouldn't get very far, would we? What is that now? 460 per hour per engine. So it's 900 pounds per hour. So with our current fuel, we would come about 3 hours something, 4 hours. Okay. I'm not sure if that is reasonable, but it also doesn't look like it's below the middle or around the middle. And well, I think it doesn't strike me as a bad value, so I would say makes sense. Okay, so we've stopped decelerating. We stay now in and around 200. There is no, well, there is an IAS mode. The thing is, I haven't discovered yet a speed bug, which tells me where that IIS mode would, what speed it would hold. I don't know. What happens if I turn this on IIS? And then what? Where do I see the speed? I don't really. Anyway, let's put it back to altitude mode. We may try the IIS mode then to descend. Okay, so we need to go down to 1500. And I'm going to now use the IIS mode, and I'm going to take back the power. And we can see now how the autopilot is trimming the aircraft down. Keeping the speed at 200 knots. That's working nicely. I had worse. I had aircraft where you used the IS mode and you were all over the place. Not bad, not bad. If that thing with the autopilot engagement wouldn't have happened so far, actually, it's doing a good job. So we're descending with about 1,000 feet per minute with my current power settings. So N1 of about 92. I have individual power levers, so there's a slight difference in the potties, the potentiometers. So they're not exactly equal, but I think that's also realistic. Also in real life, I guess the levers and the engines would react slightly differently, so you might actually have to fine adjust your two levers for that to fit. So what is that thing doing actually? I have no idea. Prop auto. Not sure if it does anything. Okay, so yeah, the props, they run at shortly before that. I guess it's the, what is that actually, 1700 RPM, but they seem to be stuck there, so somehow this is automatically kept there at this position. Okay, that's the ITT. What is ITT again? The second T is for temperature, that's for sure. Intake temperature or something like that. Then that's the torque of the propellers. and that is in a nice medium range here, so that all looks okay to me. Fuel flow is now down because I've reduced power, obviously, so we're now at 300 pounds per hour, and our oil pressure and temperature is all fine. So altitude alert, and I forgot again, altitude select. You have to switch on altitude select. But anyway, let's continue descending because we need to actually get to 5,000. So I'm going to dial in 5,000. And we'll keep descending at 200 knots. So I'm not sure what the climb button will do. Good question. And DSC, so I will need to get the manual and check it out then. But Try&Fly usually is me trying out things and not reading all the manuals. I know not everybody likes that, but there you go. So I actually quite like it. So far, it's doing a good job. I haven't had really any shouting moments because very often with Carenado aircraft I get in a bit of a state usually, but this one is so far is doing all right. Quite like it. It is a nice and beautiful aircraft anyway, as most Carenado aircraft are. So let's check the cabin again. Well, I'm not sure what exit's going to open here. A bit of a copy thing here, it looks. So here's one and there's one. Okay. No smoking. Yeah, there isn't really much you can do here in the cabin apart from sit and watch and getting a headache because you're sitting beside the prop. Although, as an enthusiast, I like sitting beside the prop and get a headache. I think we might have to increase our vertical speed a bit. I just realized it has reduced a bit, so I've moved the throttle levers now slightly down, the power levers. We don't have to be at 5,000 at MIQ, but we need to be at MAGAT, and being above 10,000 here could make this a bit of a descent race now. So I'm going to reduce even a bit more. So, okay, there's another place where things could go a little bit out of the normal, because sometimes, for some reason, it will not continue to track D105 November here, because this somehow it has an interruption here between mic and the next. That isn't the case. Now that doesn't have to do anything with the aircraft. It's just sometimes I need to watch here, because what happened a couple of times is that it would continue straight instead of turning. So 10,000. Well, the landing lights are on anyway. So the descent, 80s and information check, altimeter set, radios set, pressurization set, auto feather is, well, I've got it in the arm position anyway. I actually forgot to turn it off. Power levers and elevator trim set to maintain. Lights as required, ice protection not required, altimeter local. Okay. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. I can increase the power again and get to about a bit more than 1,000 feet per minute. Yeah, we can even go a little bit less. Just don't forget to return the power before reaching 5,000, because otherwise we might slow down quite rapidly. So we're now turning onto Magat, and we need to be at 5,000 Magat. Yeah, maybe I have to speed up again a bit with the descent. So, and the other thing we shall not forget is to switch the CDI then to VOR lock again, so that we can track the localizer. Okay, we're fine. We've reached 5,000. I can bring up the power again. Altitude select. That was a bit too much. Okay. Okay. Now we need to come on. We need to come down a bit. And we can already see the ILS. We are actually on the glide slope. So I'm going to activate now the localizer by switching to VOR lock and arming the approach mode. So, it should be turning any moment because the localizer is coming in right now. I'm going to reduce the speed to about 180 now. We're going to start also descending on the glide slope any moment. So far so good. So we're descending on the glide slope, which means I have to take back some power. Okay, approach checklist, auto feather arm, propeller sync off. Propeller levers high RPM, they are. Localizer check, airspeed established 200 knots. Well, flaps into the approach. First position. Airspeed established 160 knots. When we are at 160, we bring down the landing gear, which is more or less now. Landing gear down. Landing lights are on, and we bring in the flaps full position. Airspeed established 125 knots. At final, brakes verify off, ice protection as required, pressurization check, taxi lights on. So, landing gear is down, autopilot, well, we turn that off a bit later, airspeed VREF, touchdown, main wheels. Yeah, I wonder what other wheels we would use, if not the main wheels. So about 125 for the approach. Now obviously there's no auto land capability here, so we will need to take over at some point. Oh yeah, where can you set the minimums? Somewhere, I think here. The question is, where is it displayed? Let's see. Where can we see? 200. Okay, it's here in the PFD. Okay, so now let's see how this baby here flies. There's already veering off to the left immediately.
Approaching 0-8 left.
08 left is correct. I don't think there would be this kind of announcement in the real aircraft. Well, maybe they do have. Getting a little bit fast and a little bit low.
Minimums.
Landing. Well, it steers reasonably okay. It's just a little bit of a tendency to veer to the left, but it's not too bad actually. So okay, and I go into the beta range. Not that I have the feeling that that does much. I'm in the reverse now, so I'm using the brakes. Oops, yeah, a little bit touchy here, but that actually worked out quite well. 32, I can't believe that. 32 feet per minute. That can't have been me landing this aircraft. Well, I am surprised. For a long time now, this is a Carenado I actually quite enjoyed. Yeah, so we're putting the park brake on. I'm bringing the props into the feather position so that we don't speed off again. And we can now do the after landing. Flaps up. Elevator trim set for whatever. I don't know what I'm supposed to set it for. We can bring it up again. Then landing lights off. Well, they don't turn off anyway. I need to find out if there's a fix for that. It's a bit stupid. Ice protection off. Engine anti-ice off. Engine auto ignition off. Ground speed during taxi. Yeah, well, we're not going to taxi. Then shut down. So we've set the parking brake. The power levers are in the idle position. I'm still not sure what the idle position is exactly. Auto feather off. Left AC bus off. Right AC bus off. Flight director power off. I don't know where it is. Avionics master off. Taxi lights off. Strobe lights off. Nav lights off. Bleed air off. Pressurization system check. ITT stabilized at whatever. Condition levers, fuel cut off. So I'm bringing back those into the low idle first, and then bring it in the fuel cutoff position. Propeller levers feather, they are. The beacon, the beacon is off. Generator switches off. And battery switch off. All switches verify off. Yep, that's it. Welcome back in Munich, and with the surprisingly pleasant experience that I had now with this with the Beech 1900D. Really liked it. The landing was good. The handling on the landing was also very good. There was a slight tendency to push to the left, but that could also be maybe some calibration. Might have to check the calibration of the joysticks. It wasn't bad though. It was easy to manage. And I use a slight rudder push in the rudders, and that compensated for it. Yeah, nice one. A pleasant try and fly, and I'm glad now that I have the latest version and not some old buggy one. The autopilot boo-boo was, I thought I had pressed the button. Now, two possibilities: either I just didn't press it properly, or maybe you have to press it longer or something. Maybe there's, because I've seen this on other aircraft from Carenado, sometimes you need to kind of hold the autopilot engage button for longer so that it activates, and possibly this is something like that. Could be. Yeah, so that unexpected turn by 180 degrees was because the autopilot wasn't on. But yeah, I'm not sure that that is anything in the aircraft. It could just be me not having turned on the autopilot properly. So I'll try that out next time. Pretty sure there will be a next time. And yeah, it is a nice aircraft. There are some nice liveries with it. So you can actually check. If you press that button here, it will switch through the available liveries. The Air New Zealand black one is actually quite a nice one. There are some kind of private liveries as well. Fly Era, NextJet, the Pacific Coastal is a freeware one because I'm planning to have some flights in Canada. So one of the first flights we're probably going to fly from Vancouver to Victoria, which is a very short flight. It's actually one of the shortest flights of Pacific Coastal. You have a flying time of about 18 minutes, and they usually fly around 3,000 feet or so. So they're not climbing very high, and it's a very short flight, commuting from Victoria to Vancouver, from Vancouver to Victoria. Yeah. So it's going to be one of my probably live streams in the near future. Anyway, so that's it. Let's not draw this out unnecessarily. Nice aircraft, well done, good looking, and handling and navigation appear to be spot on. Okay, that's it. Until next time.